Hi, and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to use the Simmons Catalyst resource that's provided by the library. In this quick tutorial, we are going to go over what the Simmons Catalyst resource is, how to access it, and how to use it most effectively in your research. So first of all, what is this resource? It is technically called a Consumer Insights and Activation Engine, or in other words, it is a tool that is going to allow you to analyze the data that comes from the Simmons National Survey. And the Simmons survey is this very large survey that's sent out to the US population. Hundreds and thousands of people take this survey, and it provides insights on the American consumer. So we're going to be able to see demographics, psychographics, brand information, usage information, things like that. But to access this, we're going to first come to the Harold B. Lee Library page, or just the BYU Library homepage. We're going to click on Research Guides, and we're going to type in Marketing and Industry Research. Then you're going to come here to Market Research, and Simmons Insight is the link right here. Okay, so this is the Catalyst homepage. If your homepage does not look like this, you could potentially be in the 1.0 version, and there would be a button up here that's going to say Launch 2.0. And that's what you're going to want to click on to get to this purple looking page. There's a couple different tools that you can use within Simmons Catalyst. The library subscribes to Crosstab, Geomapping, and then this other one, Quick Reports. But in this video today, we're just going to be looking at Crosstab. You'll notice on this homepage that you do not have your own account to Simmons. It is a shared Brigham Young University account. And because it is a shared account, there's also going to be a lot of shared reports. Within Simmons, we're not really going to be saving any of our data to Simmons, but you're going to be exporting it to other places, particularly Excel. Okay, so we are going to run a quick demonstration on how to use the Crosstab. This one is going to be the most confusing, but it is a very, very powerful tool. So right when you open Crosstab, you're going to see this table pop up. And we haven't populated what's going to be in our columns and our rows yet, but we have this study universe, and this is just going to show the entire population we're looking at. So in order to edit this table, we're going to come over here to Composer. And in Composer, you're going to first see that we have this study bar. And so the very first study that is automatically picked for us is the 2021 Spring USA study. This video is being recorded in 2024. The most recent study we have is 3 years back. It costs a lot of money to subscribe to the most recent study, and so we just bite the bullet and take the 2021 survey. If you want to look at more specific cities, you can look at maybe something like Salt Lake or other bigger cities. They don't have surveys for smaller cities like Provo or Orem. But if you want to look at more specific cities, you can. For this purpose, I'm just going to be looking at the entire USA survey. And then there's these 3 columns and these 3 sections in this Composer. The first one is Dictionary, and Dictionary is going to have all of the survey responses. So for example, if you wanted to look at this very first one, there's all these different brands people bought in the last 12 months. So people could have selected that they bought Adidas or Airwalk or Asics or Avia in the last 12 months. There's also demographic and psychographic information in this section as well. And there's a lot of information in here. You can search stuff. Like let's say I want to look at Diet Coke. You can really get specific, and the search bar is going to be helpful. For my demonstration, I know I've run through this demo a couple times, and so I know which ones I'm picking out. So I'm going to go pretty fast through it, but just be aware that it is probably going to take time to figure out what sections you're going to want to include in your table. This middle section, we're going to be able to edit the things we want in our columns and rows and bases before we actually put it there. And so this is going to be really helpful. I'm kind of calling this like our drawing board. And then the report preview is going to have these 3 sections over here. Columns and rows are pretty self-explanatory, but bases is the one that kind of trips people up. Bases is going to be what your population is. So like let's say I'm looking at like wedding dress sales. I probably don't want to include men in that population base because it might skew my data in a weird way. Maybe I just want to look at women. And so I can put woman as a base here, and that will just look at the population of women in the USA. And so bases is really just adjusting what your population is. It will become clear as we go along. Columns and rows, as a general rule, we like to put the people we're looking at in columns and then the things they're doing or buying or saying in rows. That just makes reading the data a little bit easier and a little more uniform. But we're just going to run through a quick demo. Okay, so for this quick demonstration, let's pretend that I am working for a company that is developing a new type of blush, and they want to know what segment of the population they should market to, or what age range of the population they should market to. And so what I'm going to be looking for as I compose this table is how age is going to affect the type of blush you use. And so this demographic, I mean, it could include men, but I think for the most part, the market we're looking at is women. And so my number one thing is I'm going to come in here to demographics. I'm going to go to respondents. There's a couple different options. You can choose the head of household of the survey responder, the homemaker, things like that. But I think respondent is probably the most general and inclusive one to look at. So then I'm going to hit bases, and I'm going to hit woman because I just want to look at woman. And I'll throw woman in there. And you can drag or you can add it down here. And then with that, I also want to be looking at age range. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at age summary. And I want to see all of these different age ranges. But I don't really care about this distinction. I kind of just want to see people who are 45 to 64. I like that I have these smaller segments. We got kind of like people in their young 20s, older 20s, 30s. But I want this to be less distinct. And so what I can do is I can click on one, and then I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hold down Command. But I think if you're on a PC, you're going to hold down Control. And I'm going to click these two. And then there are these Boolean operators up here. And so if I wanted to find someone who was both 45 to 54 and 55 to 64, I would do and. But for this situation, I'm going to do or. So someone who is either 45 to 54 or 55 to 64. And there's a couple other ones too that you can mess around with. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete those. And then for my own sake, I'm going to order them so that they're still in age range. I'm going to hit select all, and I'm going to add these to my columns. And so this is what I was meaning by wanting to have the type of people in columns. So this is the demographic of people I want to look at, this segment. So then the next thing we're going to be including is the thing that these people are doing or saying or buying or thinking. And so for me, I'm going to come into health and beauty aids, and I'm going to come here to blusher or blush and type. And so I want to see the different types people use. So maybe it's cream or gel or liquid or powder or like more of a cakey powder. So we have these three types, and I'm just going to put these all in my rows. So now that I have this table kind of situated and run out, you can hit run report. And what's going to pull up is a table that looks like this. This isn't the most comprehensive view. I like to use this crosstab view down here. And so this is what our data table is going to look like. All right, so now that we have this awesome data table, we need to know how to read it. There's obviously a lot of numbers here, and so we're just going to go through and break down what they all mean. And I'm going to start off just looking at this box. And we're going to start at the bottom. So the index is probably going to be the most important piece of information you're looking at. You'll notice that there's this green arrow next to this one, this yellow arrow next to this other one, and that if you scroll over, there's also going to be red arrows. And that's going to indicate to us when there's a green or a red, it's going to show us when a certain demographic is more or less likely to do something. And green and red means that it's more significant than just the yellow ones that are pretty close to the general population. But we're going to break down how to read this. So 111, what does that even mean? So the index is actually the measure of the likelihood that respondents meet the criteria for both the column and the row when compared to the rest of the given population. So for this survey, the given population is women in the US. That's our base that we put in over here. And then what we're going to look at here is that compared to rest of the women in the US, women who are age 18 to 24 are 11% more likely to choose a cream gel or liquid blush. And so then if you look at something that's a little lower over here, so 78, 100 minus 78 is 22. And so women who are 45 to 64 years old are 22% less likely than the rest of the women in the US to use a cream gel or liquid blush. And so hopefully that helps you kind of understand how that can apply to your survey information by just replacing the numbers and amounts and the columns and rows that go for your information. So for horizontal, we're going to be looking at this horizontal row first. So what we say is, out of all the women in the US who chose a cream gel or liquid blush, 12.43% of those women are age 18 to 24. The vertical is going to be the opposite. Out of women in the US who are 18 to 24 years old, 3.98% are going to be choosing cream gel or liquid blush. This weighted number right here is going to be the estimated number of people in the US who fit these two criteria, and you're going to add 3 zeros onto the end of this number. So that's going to be 582,000 women are going to be age 18 to 24 and choosing cream gel or liquid blush. And then the unweighted is going to be the actual number of people who reported yes to both of these criteria in the survey. And so that means that 123 people who took the Simmons survey were both 18 to 24 years old and chose a cream gel or liquid blush, and were women. So I want to just warn about something really quickly. So right now we're getting all of these numbers and these green and yellow arrows and things like that. But if I were to come over to bases and instead of choosing women, maybe choose men. Maybe I want to look at men purchasing blushes. You'll start to see all of these zeros pop up with stars next to them. And what that's going to tell you is that 0 people who took this survey reported that they were 18 to 24 years old and that they wanted cream gel and liquid blush and that they were men. 0 people. What this little note says is that projection values in this cell are relatively unstable due to respondent count below 50. Use with caution. What that tells us is that there was not enough people who responded yes to these things to be able to get reliable information. So we can't just assume that 0 men 18 to 24 years old would choose cream gel or liquid blush. We don't have enough data to prove that. And so be careful as you're going through your survey that you're not getting too specific to make your data unreliable. Okay, so to finish off, let's say I have this table and I want to be able to save this information. I could come up here and hit save, but remember that's just going to save to this homepage, and anybody who accesses Simmons through BYU is going to be able to come in and edit this search. And so if you really want to be able to save your information, you can come over here to these 3 dots and hit export and then Excel. And Excel will open up a spreadsheet and will include these little colored arrows and all this information as well. We obviously went through this tutorial pretty fast, and you probably have more questions still. There's a lot of resources out there. One is if you come to this question mark right here, there are study resources as well as tutorials that they have a video here that you can go through. There's also different video tutorials on YouTube. I watched one before making this video. And you can also Google search something like how to read index on Simmons Insight, and a lot of good information from other universities and libraries will come up. If you do get stuck and you want to be able to talk to someone about it, you can come back here to this library page, and Jessica Tuan will be able to help you. You can reach out to her through email or schedule an appointment through Zoom. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was able to help you get a good understanding of what the Catalyst tool is, and good luck in your market research.